Joining us now is journalist Bhatia Ungasagan. Bhatia, nice to chat to you again. Thank you for joining me. Let's start with Donald Trump surprising visitors on a White House tour. Have a look at this.
Welcome to the White House. What an exciting trip you're going to make. Is everybody having a good time? There's nothing like the White House, right? No matter where you go. First Lady worked very hard on making it perfect, and I think you're going to really love it. And I heard you were here, and I said, let's stop by and say hello. Maybe someday you'll be here as the president, right? You're going to give them a special tour, okay? Have fun, everybody.
I love that. And as you can imagine, the tour group was so excited, they even started chanting USA.
USA! 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 USA!
Bhatia, how cool is that? I mean, that's an experience that they will never forget. But I also think it shows what sort of a person Donald Trump is.
Danica, you are 100% correct. This is a man who loves the people. And you can just see it in everything he does, everything he says, every executive action he passes. He won because people could feel that love, and it came in the form of a policy agenda that reflected a deep respect for the American people and for the dignity of working class Americans, something that had disappeared from the American public sphere because the elites are so disdainful of people who work with their hands for a living. And you can just see it. He just loves those people. He really feeds off of their energy. He has a deep and abiding respect and love for America and for the American people, for the electorate. And it just comes out in all of these different ways where he can't help himself but stop and talk to them. He truly is the tribune of the plebs.
That's a really good way to put it. You're right. He is a man of the people. You can just see that. And they just love him, the fact that they erupted in USA. Now, Bhatia, we've got to talk about MSNBC. That network is absolutely falling apart, of course, after Joy Reid was axed. Now, fellow host Rachel Maddow has lashed out at her own liberal media outlet over the decision. Have a look at this.
I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC, and personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Phang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible.
Oh, geez. Bhatia, are we witnessing the end of MSNBC? I mean, ratings are atrocious as it is. Now it seems like the hosts are falling apart.
It's so funny that she accused them of being racist for firing or canceling, not even fired, canceling the shows of two non-white hosts. They were replaced with three non-white hosts. So, the whole attempt to racialize this is ridiculous. But of course, that was always the case. The attempt to re-racialize American life, to turn Americans against each other based on race, was Joy Reid's bread and butter. And it's not separable from the fact that she made millions and millions of dollars doing it, because wokeness was always a smokescreen for the class divide. These hosts on cable news shows who make millions of dollars would sit there and call Americans racist and try to turn us against each other because they didn't want their extreme undeserved wealth to be exposed. And so they would call anybody racist or sexist or homophobic or transphobic or what have you, who brought up the immense class divide that they were benefiting from. And Joy Reid really was the worst example of this.
She certainly was. She was an absolute disgrace. And I mean, I'm surprised it took them so long to get rid of her in the first place. Now, look, the Trump administration last week told all federal employees to respond to an email asking them what they had achieved the previous week or be fired. And while more than 1 million workers across the Departments of Transportation, Veterans Affairs and Small Business responded, a number of agencies actually instructed their staff not to reply, including the Departments of Defense, Justice and the FBI. Bhatia, why are these departments defying government orders?
It's really funny. It turns out Elon Musk is the Karen in chief. He's demanding to know what you accomplished this week in an email. Obviously everybody wants government to work efficiently. Everybody wants to trim the fat. Everybody wants to get rid of people who are not working. But this is just an added level of bureaucracy here. Elon Musk has empowered a bunch of extremely young, unexperienced people to actually defy the orders of, in some cases, the State Department. And of course, Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, a lot of people who are Trump loyalists who are telling their employees, look, just ignore this. Like, this is just Elon Musk nonsense. And they want to be in charge of their departments. And so, there's really this sort of, I don't think it's a tension. I don't think it's right to call it that. But there is something developing here where within the ranks of Trump loyalists, of the MAGA movement, and of his appointees, they're losing a little bit of patience with Elon Musk needing to be in the headlines every single day, of him trying to undermine them and what they're trying to achieve in their departments. I think we can trust Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard to fire anybody who's not performing. But then again, Donald Trump said that he supports what Elon Musk did. And there's a little bit of good cop, bad cop going on here too, right? Because Donald Trump, of course, wants to cut the fat. But meanwhile, it's Elon Musk who's getting all the negative press for it. So I think it's working to Trump's advantage.
I think so too, but I mean, good. I just say good on them for asking. What are you doing? I mean, he's trying to cut back these departments, so he has every right to know what the workers are up to. Now, I found this one quite shocking, Bhatia. Federal intelligence workers are being investigated for allegedly abusing the NSA's internal messaging platform, Interlink, using the agency's official diversity, equity and inclusion group chat to talk about sexual topics in graphic detail. Some of those topics included experiences with gender reassignment surgery, hormone therapy, pronoun usage, and some others that were very graphic. But I've got to say, Bhatia, is this not another example as to why these departments need a clean out?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, look, there is so much waste going on. If Elon Musk is really finding people who have not been at work, not opened their emails for a year, not changed their passwords for a year, these people shouldn't be collecting a paycheck. We know that the average employee of the federal government makes about $140,000 a year. That's a very decent salary for not actually showing up to work. So I agree with you. There's certainly fat to be trimmed here.
Yeah, there's definitely fat to be trimmed. Now, look, speaking of DOGE, 21 employees of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency have actually now quit their jobs, writing in a joint resignation letter, quote, "We will not use our skills as technologists to compromise core government systems, jeopardize Americans' sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services. We will not lend our expertise to carry out or legitimize DOGE's actions." Look, Bhatia, I'm sure that Elon Musk doesn't care if you're going to quit your jobs, but what do you make of their response?
You see this a lot on the left, low-level employees thinking that they run the place. And in a lot of cases, it's because they are given an outsized sense of their own importance, because there is a sort of obsession with the approval of the young on the left. And so you end up with a situation where, like, interns will be writing, public open letters decrying their bosses. And it's so totally ridiculous. If you want to work for the government, your number one job is to carry out what the president of the United States asks you to do, what your boss asks you to do. So I think you're totally right. I don't think Elon Musk is going to miss these people. Don't let the door hit you on your way out. But it is indicative of a much larger problem. There's only one thing they did say that I have sympathy for. The cutting spending, this is a good thing. The fact that they don't want to do it, come on. But there is a risk of compromising sensitive data. And I do wish Elon Musk took that a little bit more seriously.
No, look, that is definitely a fair point. But yeah, don't let the door hit you on your way out, because you can easily be replaced. That's for sure. Now, Bhatia, it's been revealed that the same left-wing groups who were behind widespread anti-Israel protests and the defund the police movement are also behind those anti-DOGE protests that we're seeing at the moment. And look, if you hadn't guessed already, yes, our mate George Soros has had a huge role in funding these lunatics. But, you know, Bhatia, again, what does it say about the left and the narrative that they're just trying to spin? They go from one different protest to another, don't they?
You absolutely nailed it. You know, the left used to be very justly the side that was pushing for civil rights for Black Americans. When they achieved that, thank God, they moved on to gay Americans. Okay, we achieved that. Then they moved on to trans Americans. Then when that became, you know, not the thing, they moved on to illegal immigrants. Then they moved on to Gaza. And now they're moving on to Elon Musk. They just jump from one thing to the next because they don't actually believe in any of these causes. The whole point here is the moral vanity of being able to sneer at and look down at your fellow Americans for not being at the vanguard of whatever crap is the cause du jour. Is it environmentalism? Is it Trump is literally Hitler, right? Whatever it is, they jump on the bandwagon. These people don't think for themselves. They've lost the ability to think critically. They worship experts and credentials, and they just jump from one issue to the next because they have lost their moral compass. And so they look to the crowd. They look outside to Greta Thunberg, you know, or whoever it is that's leading the charge on that day to tell them what to think and what to believe and where to show up for the protest and what square to post on their social media, because they've replaced a worldview based in right versus wrong with a worldview based on powerful versus powerless, and then superimposed race or gender or whatever onto it. And so they just have no ability to think for themselves anymore. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing here. They found a new target. They've just found a new target, and now they're going after him.
Yeah, and it's almost like they just want to make themselves feel better by tying themselves in these in knots of guilt, going from one different thing to another. It's typical of the left's narrative. Now, look, let's talk about ICE, because as it ramps up illegal migrant deportations in Southern California, activists in Los Angeles have begun posting the names, photos and personal information of ICE agents and warning neighbourhoods of imminent raids. But yeah, I'm not really sure, firstly, what they're trying to achieve here. I mean, by doing that's doxing, but I don't know what they're trying to achieve. In the end, this is what Donald Trump was elected on, a mandate to fix this, boot out illegal immigrants. So they're going to continue to do it whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, doxing is just disgusting. Going after ICE agents is just disgusting. They're doing their jobs, but also they are doing a job that the vast majority of Americans want them to do. The American people think that Tom Homan is a hero. He is the perfect person for this job right now because he doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He cares about what's best for the American people. And he made that very clear. He shows up every day for work with a smile on his face and, you know, just willing to kick butt. And that's what he's doing. He is getting violent criminals out of our country. And the fact that they are siding with the violent criminals tells you everything you need to know about the left right now. AOC did not even know it was a crime to enter the country illegally until Tom Homan told her that. I mean, it's, you know, the ignorance coupled with hatred of working class Americans, utter contempt for their fellow Americans, and a refusal to say, hey, in a democracy, the majority is supposed to get what they want, and this is what the American people want.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, leave. It's as simple as that, because this is what the American people want. But before we let you go, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to meet with Donald Trump in the White House to sign off on a US minerals deal, the terms of which have already been agreed to. Now, Trump has demanded access to Ukraine's mineral resources to compensate for the billions of dollars in war funding provided by Joe Biden, and Ukraine hopes that agreeing to the deal will actually help regain the support of Washington. Badia, where do you see this meeting go, particularly given Donald Trump's criticism of Ukraine in the past week?
Donald Trump got extremely angry at Volodymyr Zelensky because I think Trump assumed when he took office that it would be Putin who would be reluctant to come to the table, but Zelensky, who had been the recipient of $200 billion of American taxpayer dollars, would be very happy and willing to come to the table to negotiate the end to the war, and also that he would want to repay the Americans in some way for our immense generosity in backing them in this war. And I think Donald Trump was very, very surprised, shocked, and disappointed that Vladimir Zelensky did not want to end the war and did not want to repay the Americans in any way. And so it led to Donald Trump saying very strict things about Zelensky. Zelensky thankfully changed his tune. They're going to sign this agreement, and hopefully the United States will get some of that money back. I think the meeting itself will go very well. Trump is a very forgiving person. I mean, for God's sake, he has forgiven people who called him Hitler. In fact, J.D. Vance himself had been very strict, had very strong words about Donald Trump. Now he's vice president of the United States. So I think the meeting will go very well. Donald Trump hates war. He sees himself as a peacemaker. He wants that Nobel Peace Prize, which he 100% deserves from his first term in office. He's got his eye on the prize, and I think that he'll make peace between Ukraine and Russia.
Well, I mean, that's what he said during the election campaign. He said that the war in Ukraine wouldn't have happened under his watch. So it's like he's making good form on what he had said. Bhatia Ungasagan, it's always really nice to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening.
Thank you so much, Danica. So great being here with you. God bless you.